Good evening, everyone. Pedro Salcido, Deputy Superintendent with the LA Unified School District. I'm going to listen to folks and keep my remarks brief. Welcome to Stevenson Middle School. We often talk about students learning in spaces in our schools and the schools being a community hub. Know that you today occupying this space together are very much a resemblance of what it means to bring community in a space in our schools. And so I just want to welcome you. Be learners, be collaborators, be in cooperation and collaboration and forging community together. And know that this space is always open to the community to have dialogue and discourse that results in outcomes for our students and our families. Thank you.
Thank you. If you need translation into either English or Spanish, please get a headset. We did provide them at the registration. We'll be bringing them in for our panelists as well. But please utilize the translation equipment to ensure Spanish and English in real time. If your headset is not working, please raise your hand and we'll come around to support you. If your headset is not working, please raise your hand, and I apologize if someone is sitting next to someone who only speaks Spanish and you speak Spanish, if you could please let those folks know that if their headset is not working, that they can go ahead and raise their hand and we will come and help them. All right, now we are going to go ahead and have Mayor Karen Bass come to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate everybody for being here today. And let me just say straight up that this is a collaboration between a number of your elected officials and community leaders. And I am working close at hand with your Councilwoman, Ysabel Jurado, your Supervisor, Hilda Solis, and your State Senator. Okay, your State Senator, Maria Elena Durazo. Thank you very much. So let me just say that the goal of today is to listen, to learn, to respond, and to change. Because our goal is to make sure that this neighborhood is kept whole and made better. And I just want you to know that my commitment, 150%, is to fight for this neighborhood and to make sure that whatever has happened here, number one, people are resolved and provided the resources they need, including housing, financial support, and anything else that this neighborhood depends on and needs. Let me say, if you want to listen, clap once. If you want to listen, clap once. If you want to listen, clap twice. Thank you. I want to make it clear that I will fight and deliver for this neighborhood, and I won't stop until Boyle Heights, East LA, and this neighborhood is left whole, is returned to whole, and is improved. Let me straight up apologize for any confusion, miscommunication, and information that was put out, especially at the beginning when the fires were still going on, especially anything that I have said. Whether or not the smoke was harmful or not, I am very clear that all smoke under all circumstances is harmful. Let me just say that I want to commit that there will be multiple layers of environmental investigations, both internal and with independent sciences. I see this as an environmental justice issue, and it raises to me what environmental risk that this community faces and many communities face, especially communities of color. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of warehouses in East LA, in the San Fernando Valley, and in South LA. And my commitment is to survey each of those facilities to find out what is happening in those facilities. Is there any potential harm that could come to the neighborhoods? And I want to make sure that we hold Lineage and any other corporation accountable, holding their feet to the fire to make sure that any potential harm is prevented in warehouses that are surrounding the area, and most especially from what has happened here with Lineage. We are going to hold them accountable. I have issued 2 executive directives, and you need to know that these executive directives were done in complete collaboration with local community organizations. And I want to thank Henry Perez from Inner City Struggle. I want to thank Mark Lopez from Each Yard Communities for Environmental Justice. I want to thank Pamela Augustine from East LA Leads. I want to thank Raquel Roman from Proyecto Pastoral. And I want to thank Rudy Espinosa from Inclusive Action. Let me just say that our executive directives, we thank the residents for providing the feedback that we needed. I have spent time in the neighborhoods talking to residents, and I think some of those residents are here. Yesterday I learned that many people did not know about this meeting, and they didn't know about this meeting because our communication has not been strong enough, and there has been confusion between the city and the county. Let me acknowledge this, and let me tell you that we commit to better communication and collaboration between the city, the county, the state, and any other public entity. In terms of tonight, we want to bring those responsible who will provide you information. We want to update you on what has happened, and I want to tell you that we have community resource centers that have provided services to over 2,000 people. We have provided 10,000 air filters. We're working on the Department of Water and Power so that people whose power bills have increased, we want to make sure that they are left whole. We have issued thousands of boxes of food, grocery cards, and hygiene kits. We have offered cash assistance to impacted households, and Airbnb is offering short-term rental assistance to 400 households. Where is joint city and county financial resources to small businesses and workers fund? We have offered over we are offering over $1,000 to $3,000 to small businesses that have been impacted. So let me just say in conclusion that I will stand for this community and I will fight for this community, because I am not going to accept anybody, including any corporation, from creating harm in this community, and the harm that this community has already experienced. We will stay on it until it is resolved. This community is left whole, and not just left the same, but actually left improved. So let me thank you, and let me invite up your Supervisor, Hilda Solis. Let me just say, for those who want to hear, thank you. Clap once.
Thank you, Mayor. Buenas noches. It's good to be here in Boyle Heights and East Los Angeles, and to see so many of our residents that are here. I want to thank you, Mayor Bass, our alcalde. Muchas gracias. I also want to thank our Councilmember Jurado, who's really doing a good job. Está haciendo mucho para nuestra comunidad. I want to say that I have partnered closely with these two individuals and with their staffs, and as well as with the county and our city partners. These are communities impacted, as we know, because of environmental justice issues. And I will tell you that when I first started in my career here as a Board of Supervisor, one of the first issues we worked collectively on was Exide. We are still fighting there. We are still fighting there. But I want to tell you that on Wednesday, let me explain. On Wednesday, June the 17th, my office and my staff was immediately engaged in monitoring conditions while coordinating with our county departments and our emergency partners, our firefighters, as well as our emergency staff. The next day, we mobilized procurement of critical resources, including distributing air purifiers and protective masks in both East LA and Boyle Heights. That Friday, my staff went door to door in Union Pacific, distributing purifiers and masks while sharing health and safety guidance at my direction. We worked with the American Red Cross to open a 24/7 smoke respite shelter at the county city park right here in City Terrace. I then joined Mayor Bass the next day for 2 joint press conferences announcing local emergencies and urging our state to also declare that emergency. In fact, I spoke with the governor's office earlier that day and was happy to see him collaborate and declare that emergency along with us that evening. On Monday, June 22nd, my office launched a coordinated daily distribution effort starting at Union Pacific Community at the City Terrace Park, and we added Belvedere Park as well. We then opened the Los Angeles County Community Resiliency Center located at the East Los Angeles Library, a one-stop hub that remains even open today. And the impacted residents received small business support information, health care screenings, and protective resources. To date, we have distributed over 10,000 purifiers that have been distributed across East Los Angeles and to our neighbors in Boyle Heights. We also provided food, crates of water, and 95 masks to the residents of East LA and Boyle Heights. And I know many of you were also very busy that you came by in the evening to pick up those purifiers and those other sources. I also want to thank the AQMD, the Air Quality Management District, that is here, because they are supposed to be helping us also measure what the content of smoke is in the air, but also doing much more. They have also provided us, LA County and Boyle Heights, with 1,600 purifiers, and they have committed to giving out another few thousand. And they will ask for people to work with us to help people go online and get registered to receive these high-quality air purifiers. We want to continue to also let you know, and some of our partners are here that volunteered to help us distribute those air filters, the food, the water, and masks. And I want to give a shout out to the healthcare providers, the federally qualified clinics, to the student volunteers y la gente que nos ha ayudado. And please stand. I want to recognize you because you are what make this community go. I also want to say thank you to so many other people. Every week now, we have been speaking at the Board of Supervisors about this ongoing response. And on June 23rd, the Board of Supervisors unanimously ratified my emergency declaration as well as my motion to streamline and enhance the county's response, ensuring that we will continue to support community, la comunidad, while holding accountable the parties that are responsible. The motion that we put forward complements the 2 executive orders that the mayor had issued as well. And this weekend, I joined Mayor and Council member in sending a joint letter to Lineage uplifting the needs to urgently assist our residents. And on Tuesday, the board also approved my motion to send a 5-signature letter to the company, Lineage, uplifting our community needs, including direct financial support for critical resources for our community. I also called for comprehensive plans on cleanup and recovery, including site plans to address odors, water runoff, and other cleanup efforts that have a wider impact on the surrounding communities. Tonight, I look forward to hearing from you and all of you to help us in this effort. We have a short timeline, and we have to make sure that we hold people accountable and those that are responsible, because there is suffering and pain in our community. And that includes our collaboration with the city. I also want to thank very much again our Councilmember Ysabel Jurado, representing the 14th District. I want to introduce her now and ask you to please welcome her. Muchas gracias.
Good evening, everybody. Look, it's hard to be in front of you right now because just 2 years ago, I was right where you were. And I've been on the other side of this movement. And the anger and the pain and the frustration and the uncertainty that you feel is something I feel every single day in this job and what we are doing right now. For our office, this fire wasn't an abstract thing, it was personal. Some of our staff lived directly across from the fire site, and that's how we knew exactly what was going on and having to learn and the lack of communication. And for weeks, this community has had to live with that uncertainty, relying on rumors, having to deal with the uncertainty, not knowing what information to trust and where to go to. And you shouldn't have had to endure that alone. Small businesses have struggled with fewer customers, they're with an uncertain future, families deciding to make choices about their health and their work based on rumors that they hear from their neighbors and what they're seeing outside and not knowing what to do. This recovery is about trust. And what I see and hear right now, it's evident that the trust that is required to recover needs to be gainfully earned. And one of the things that I'm gonna when it comes to this recovery, the truth is that as a council member for this district, my purpose is to be laser focused and that this recovery is centered around those that are most affected and that their voices are not left behind. This town hall isn't the last step, it's the first step in community engagement to make sure that the folks that are affected the most are at the center point of all the decision making, because I have always held that Those that are most affected are the ones that should be deciding what the recovery looks like, and you've been telling us what hasn't been working. And so part of what I am laser focused on is making sure that the communication errors that we've had are changed, and that communication about the progress involves a dialogue between all of you, and that the outreach to those that are most affected is in person, bilingual, door to door, and not just online or on the TV, because our constituents deserve that kind of outreach. They need it, and all of these resources not reaching anybody is not an effective recovery. The other thing is, as the recovery process goes on, we want to make sure that if anybody is hired or anybody that is worked with, that there is a local preference for hiring our contracts, and that Boyle Heights residents, whether they're looking for a job or nonprofits that are already engaging in this emergency crisis response, or those that already speak in the language or in faith organizations, are prioritized to be the actual people that are part of the recovery, because you know your community best. And that's what I'm going to be laser focused on, and making sure that you're centered in the decision-making process, in the contracting process, because as on this side, I still know the truth to be the same, is that community has always come up for a community, and in this job, I'm trying to make sure that we hear your voices and that we can make it easier and stomp through this bureaucracy. And Mayor Bass and Supervisor Hilda Solis were the ones that called a local emergency to make sure to marshal every single resource and from the state, so that the fire department could put it out in the time that it was, where we know these have lasted for 2 months or more. And so with that, we know this recovery is about trust. I already got it. Recovery, I already got it. I already got it. I already got it. I already got it. And with that, no se vende, and guess who's next? Your favorite Lineage now will present.
Hey everybody, my name's Jeff Rivera. I'm the Executive Operations Officer at Lineage. And hey, I know you're really upset, but if you could just give me some time, there's information you want, right? You're here because you want information. So just let me share the information I have. I know the last few weeks have been extremely difficult, and it's really disrupted everything with your families. I understand the uncertainty, the frustration, and the disruption that it's caused. And I am sorry for the disruption that this has caused. I'm here tonight because I know there's information you want answered, and so I'm working on answering those questions directly, to share the facts that we know today, to explain where we're at right now with the cleanup. You want to know where we're at with the cleanup, right? So I can share that with you and talk about what we're doing here moving forward. So there's three main things I want to start off with. I know the biggest question you have is the air safe, right? That's question number one. Is the air safe? Yes. Public agencies continue to monitor air quality. And I have an expert with me that will share the data so you can see the real data of what's going on with the air quality. The second point, where are we at with the cleanup? Cleanup is effectively underway, and we're moving quickly as possible. We actually started moving debris this week, this past Monday, which is a big, big step for us. And I know you want to know timing on the cleanup, which I'm going to share. Most importantly, I want to share with you what we're going to do to support the community. Okay? So I'm going to walk through not only where we're at now, but what we're doing next to support you. Okay, so what is the freezer, the Lineage freezer? What was in it? So everyone understands what was going on in that freezer. We store frozen food. That's it. Pallets of food, no chemicals, pallets of food. Food that's delivered throughout the community, to restaurants, to grocery stores throughout California. Our presence in LA. We've been here a long time. This building had 120 team members. I know how upset you are. We're upset. Our building burned down, right? We're upset too. We have 120 team members that fortunately, 80 of them, we've been able to move to jobs in other buildings. The other 40, we're working on being able to support them and get them to either other buildings or support them in job placement. So what happened? So what happened when the fire started? This is an aerial view, a top-down view of the warehouse. Okay? On the 17th at 2:33 p.m., the fire started approximately here. On the roof. Okay, so we had contractors from Altus that were working on the solar array when it started on fire. The fire spread from the back of the warehouse all the way to the right and engulfed the right side of the warehouse, engulfing the entire right freezer. What keeps this building cold is ammonia refrigerant. All the ammonia, this is very important because everyone's wondering about air quality. The ammonia sits here in what's called the engine room. So this is where the ammonia sits, and there's piping where the ammonia goes across the front of the building. So why I'm sharing this is I want you to know there was no ammonia pipes in this building. When you're worried about an ammonia leak, the ammonia was up front. The fire started at 2:33 p.m. The ammonia was pumped down at 2:38 p.m., 5 minutes later. Shortly thereafter, it was removed by a truck. I want to just say thank you to the incredible LA Fire Department leaders. These guys were amazing. To see them in action, Chief Moore did an incredible job. Captain Silverman is the best that I've ever seen in what he does. And it was incredible to see this team in action working across multiple fire departments. We even had to bring in a water cannon from the state of Texas to fight this fire. And I'm proud to say that thanks to the commitment of the fire department, we're going to be donating one of those fire cannons to the LA Fire Department. Okay, so now on to cleanup. You want to know what's going on with our cleanup. So once the emergency response was underway, our focus immediately shifted to cleanup. Our first priority was speed, but doing it safely. We brought in experienced environmental cleanup firms that they're going to come up and share with you what they're doing to help support the expediting this cleanup. The mayor put an aggressive 45-day schedule, and we're going to beat that. We're working hard to be able to beat that. And we appreciate the support from the entire leadership team here to help remove roadblocks so we can go fast. They've been amazing to work with. All right, so now I'm going to have Brian Martin come up from Clean Harbor. Brian leads cleanups of very tough situations like this. He specializes in it. He goes around the country, and he's an expert in the United States. So please come on up, Brian.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I represent Clean Harbors, and we're local in your community. We have multiple offices in and around the area. We respond to large-scale emergencies across the United States. The recovery process is underway. My name is Brian Martin. I represent Clean Harbors. We have several offices within your communities. We have 2,000 employees here in California. I come out of the Midwest region. I deal with the largest emergencies across the United States in crisis management. We were tasked in helping Lineage with this response. I'm happy to report that the recovery process is now underway. We heavily engaged in this starting on Monday. All the needed response fronts are being addressed concurrently. We are focused on source removal, waste removal, odor control, transportation, disposal coordination, safety oversight, environmental controls, and reducing community impacts. We have employees here in the community. The key priorities remains, and this needs to be the priority for us in the community, is the rapid removal safely of fire-impacted debris. We will stay diligently focused. We have 200 plus personnel working around the clock, 24/7, 7 days a week, engaged in this activity. Clean Harbors expects to continue to cascade additional resources, equipment, technical support, transportation capacity, and disposal coordination into the response as conditions require. This approach is intended to improve overall recovery performance, maintain momentum, and keep work aligned with our core priorities of safety, source removal, impact reduction, documentation, and clear communications to both the citizens of the LA area, the mayor's office, and Lineage. I'm happy to report, as of today, I have the latest numbers because I just came from the site. We removed approximately 1.4 million pounds of solid material in just a few days. We also have staged 3.2 million pounds that we expect to be moved within the next few days, and we'll continue this operations. The selective structural removal process design has been set up and has been completed, and active demolition work is now underway. That process started on Tuesday. We are about 41 hours into the response, and I'm happy to report that we're about 6.5% complete with that process. No delays are expected at this time. The work will continue to move forward with strong focus, safety-controlled execution, and the protection of workers, community, and surrounding properties. We have several priorities, and I just want to make sure that I reiterate it. I think it's been reported. But Clean Harbors, Lineages, and the safety of the community is number one, with our workers and the responders. The rapid and safety removal of food-packaged waste and source material from the site. We will properly segregate, profile, transport, and dispose of the impacted materials. We will control dust, liquids, pests, and related impacts. We will maintain clear documentation, inspections, and waste tracking. We will continue to support Lineage, regulatory agencies, the mayor's office, the community, the stakeholders with accurate and timely information. This remains a logistical, technical emergency response because of the amount of materials. This site will be have involving conditions. Clean Harbors and Lineage will remain focused and keep critical work fronts moving at the same time, with the rapid removal of food waste material as the primary driver to reduce impacts and to support overall safety, site recovery, and community impacts. We do have a couple slides. If I could go to the next one, I just wanted to show some slides. This is the site traffic patterns that we're going to be having. I wanted to share information with the community so they knew how we're going to be moving trucks. We will have some logistical challenges to move trucks, but we think we've got a good plan in place, and you're going to see a lot of activity. You can see on the picture on the right, we have started wrapping the building, and the building is mostly wrapped at this point to control odors. You can see where we started the demolition, and this is a surgical removal to deal with the material to get it out as quickly as possible. So that will continue to support and continue to evolve. Next slide, please. You will also see some of the additional wrapping on the front left picture, and on the right picture, that's really to control odor source to make sure that we reduce any impacts to the community. We also have misters, advanced air filtration systems, and you can expect that we'll continue to cascade resources in as room allows, and we continue to make progress across this site. Next site, please. We just wanted to show you what our outbound logistic pattern looks like so people could expect. I suspect we'll probably have up to 150 trucks a day moving, but I wanted to make sure that we shared that openly with the community. But we will stay focused on reducing the source removal so we can improve the community air impacts as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Okay, listen. Okay, listen, would you prefer that we go directly to Q&A? Is that what you prefer? That's what we're going to do. But let me tell you this. We will do Q&A if people can actually get their questions or their statements asked. I tell you what we will also do is that we will have an online format so that people can give questions and we will respond in writing. But this is not productive. There are people who would actually like to hear. We will go to Q&A right now, and I will invite up Abigail Marquez, who heads up our Community Investment Family Development Department. Abigail is going to moderate the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My goal here today is to make sure that we get as many of your questions answered. So I'm going to call people up that will ask a question that have already submitted a question card to us. So I'm going to start calling you up. As I call you up, I will just offer some basic instructions on we want to limit the questions to 2 minutes per question or comment, and whoever is responding to that question has 1 minute to 2 minutes also to respond. So I'm going to call up Vanessa Ramirez, Angelica, Carlos Montes, Sebastian. If you can come up. Okay. Do we have Carlos? Go ahead. You have 2 minutes to ask your question.
Yeah, my name is Carlos Montes. I live in Boyle Heights. I went to local schools here. My question is, will the mayor, will the city commit to shut down Lineage after the cleanup? Shut it down.
Is there a response for that question? Okay, the next question. Do we have Sebastian here? Vanessa Ramirez? Angelica, please ask your question. Oh, yeah, hold on. Jasmine, if you can come up as well. Please, Angelica, ask your question.
Thank you. I do want to say I'm actually a fellow city employee. I work under the Department of Brick and Parks. I am a resident. Thank you. I'll repeat it from the top. My name is Angelica. I'm actually a fellow city employee. I work under the Department of Rec and Parks. One of the things is that I am a resident here in Boyle Heights, and the question I'm asking is, what will be the next steps to have not only like city employees, but also those who are living in the residency, so that way there's no miscommunication. Most of the information I've gotten on my end is because I was under the city, but most of my neighborhood who don't have that luxury there's a broken system. So what are the next steps we need to take so they're not under that constraint as well? Luckily, I understood the concept of the 311, but most of my local residents don't understand that concept. And it's very disappointing and embarrassing because I actually also have to handle my work, which is summer camp. I deal with the service. So all I want to ask, what are the next steps we need to take? Because I'm a civil servant too, but what are the steps we need to take?
Thank you for your question. Do we have a response for her question? Oh, we're gonna do a couple more questions and we will come back to that response. Do we have Jasmine Esperanza, Michelle Rubio, Joel Barrera, Gonzalez, I can't read your first name, I'm sorry, Esperanza Gonzalez, Armando Soto? Can you please come up and ask your question? We're going to take a few more questions and then we will provide a comprehensive response to those questions. Please ask your question.
Yes, okay. Hello. So this wasn't the first fire that took place at that building. It was also in August or in 2024. So why weren't there lessons learned? Because apparently in that one, that was due to an electrical purpose, or the fault was for an electrical reason. So why wasn't there a heightened sense of, Yeah, okay, let's interrupt them, but not me, thank you. Okay, but, so why haven't we learned from that? That was knocked down in 50 minutes, that time. And it started in the roof. I was working from home and I saw it. This time it started in the roof, but what transpired this time that it took 8 days or however many days to finally knock it down. Furthermore, there was that fire in Findlay, Washington, that was also a Lineage facility, also in 2024. So why aren't we in a heightened state over this whole situation that this happened again? So, and I just want to say that that's very tragic. And a gross oversight.
Is your question for Lineage? Would you like them to respond to your
question? Yeah, I can answer that. So yes, there was a fire in 2024. It was on the roof as well. And for this fire, being again another solar fire, we want to understand exactly how and why it was started with the contractors on the roof. I don't believe it had even been energized yet. So we don't know. That's a great question that I want to know as bad as you do, and we're going to figure that out. Regarding Washington, a very different situation than here.
Just a quick follow-up. It was in 2 minutes.
I'm not sure. I was not keeping time. We really just want to get through as many questions. I want you to know that all the questions that are submitted today and collected through the comment cards, we will be providing a response to all of the questions in English and in Spanish. I really apologize. Our next question, either Michelle Rubio Esperanza with an H, Vanessa Ramirez. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Please ask your question. Please give us your name so I know.
Mi nombre es Armando Soto.
Armando Soto.
Buenas tardes para todos. Mi comentario es muy breve, trataré de no tardar los 2 minutos, pero en la aplicación pusieron que iba a haber traducción. Habemos muchas personas que no hablamos inglés, ¿sí? Yo vivo muy cerca del área donde pasó el incendio. Mi preocupación es la siguiente: ¿qué está haciendo la alcaldesa y las personas encargadas del poder para ayudar a las personas de la tercera edad, ¿sí? La segunda, los paneles solares tienen silicio y los refrigeradores tienen polímero. Esas cosas son muy tóxicas y estuvimos respirando las personas que vivimos lo que es la Indiana, Los Palos, a La Puerta, la Hicks, toda esa área cercana al incendio. Respiramos muchísimo ese tipo de humo. ¿Qué podemos esperar para un futuro si alguien tiene asma? Le puede dar cáncer porque es cancerígeno el silicio, ¿sí? Y por último, creo que en cuestión del mariachi fue muy mal. Se deben de preocupar por otras cosas primero. Gracias.
Gracias.
My name is Armando Soto.
Sí. Armando. Gracias por tus preguntas y tus comentarios, Armando. Quiero responder a una de las preguntas y quiero que te respondan a la segunda pregunta que nos hiciste. La primera pregunta, yo soy la gerente general del departamento que apoya a las personas de mayor edad. Yo sé que ha sido muy difícil para personas de mayor edad. Lo que hicimos es trabajamos por medio de una de nuestras organizaciones que da servicios para esa comunidad a llevar a sus hogares purificadores. Yo sé que yo sé que no fue para todos, pero sí hicimos lo posible y todavía no hemos terminado. Hay purificadores también en Costello Park. Ya hemos distribuido más de 3,000 purificadores en ese centro. Lo entiendo. Sí, yo sé, no es suficiente. Quería responder a su pregunta y sí, escucho, es claro, sí. Does anybody want to answer his second question? AQMD would like to respond to your second question. Sí. Vamos, sí podemos darle la oportunidad de hacer una pregunta, pero necesitamos que tenemos personas que van a hacer preguntas también.
Okay. I'm going to interpret Mr. Soto's questions. Good evening. My name is Mr. Armando Soto, and I'm here on behalf of the community. One of the things I want to say, I have 3 questions. The first one is, what are we going to do about people that are older in age and how this has affected them? Number 2, I want to number 2 is part of the chemicals that have been released to the air were silicon polymers that are very toxic, very harming. They can cause asthma, they can cause cancer, and what are we going to do about those things later on in life when we have to suffer with those illnesses and diseases? And number 3, mariachi was a really bad call. You should focus on more important things.
He's asking about the response from AQMD.
So with regards to the components in the air, during the fire, US EPA...
I don't know how you'll stand up with this.
I'm Wayne Nastri. I'm with the Air Quality Management District, the South Coast AQMD. So during the fire, when we were involved, we immediately deployed a mobile monitoring van to test for metals in the air. We did that on 2 consecutive nights. We expanded on the Wednesday night and Thursday night. And on Friday, US EPA came in and brought in additional assets. US EPA was actually utilizing drone technology to go into the plumes to measure what was coming off during the smoke events. I will say that during the metal monitoring that we did both on Wednesday night and Thursday night, we didn't see any elevated concentration of metals. On Thursday night, there was a concern about HF. We didn't see any elevated concentration on that. On Saturday, EPA also set up perimeter monitoring around the facility, and they weren't getting anything out of what would be considered high for that region. So what we did see, though, there was very high concentrations of particulate matter, and it was very unhealthy, and it was also hazardous during certain points. We were directing people to look at the AQI. ABC gets the information from us. So if whatever they report, so we were reaching out, and we made every effort to look at our AQI map, to look at our application, to look at our website. There was a question earlier about how do we increase communications. That's something that we definitely have to work on. I know the councilwoman had talked about you cannot simply just put everything on a website. We understand that. The question that I would have for you is, what is the best way then for us to communicate that information? So if we have that ability, other than posting it, other than linking it, and other than making it available to others, we're very open to whatever suggestions you may have. So I hope I answered the question about what was in the air during that time. EPA actually demobilized, I want to say on Tuesday or Wednesday after the fire began, because there are no more hazardous components. So EPA didn't have the authority under hazardous waste to continue their effort. I'm sorry? Okay, hold on. So on the 17th, we conducted metal monitoring. On the 18th, we conducted metal monitoring and HF. On the 19th, we placed 2 PM monitors, one at Eastman and one right here. Some of you may have saw the monitoring equipment that we have. So the actual date of... Yeah. What we'll do is we'll make some additional time available to answer these questions. I know there's a lot of other questions.
Thank you. Yes, that's right. So let's get back to the questions. I'm going to say something. I understand that you're all frustrated and these responses are not sufficient. I acknowledge that. And I know that there's a lot of questions about what services have been made available, what services will become available. I want to turn it back over to Lineage to talk about the services that they will announce today so that we can ask questions about those specific services. So let me turn it back over to him. There's a lot of questions from all of you about services. And then if we can have Vanessa Ramirez come up, Sebastian come up, Jasmine come up for your question. Joel Barrera, if you can come up and be ready to ask your question, please.
Okay, so we want to talk about community support, which I know is so important to you. So right when the fire started, we had our CEO on the phone with the mayor, and the mayor had a great suggestion. Because we didn't know what to do and who to support, we partnered with CCF, right, the California Community Fund. And we provided $2 million to CCF to work with the local organizations that know your community because we didn't have those connections, right? So that was the first step. Over the last 2 weeks, what we've been doing is then listening. How was that working? What success were the organizations having? What else do they need, right? Where do they need to go next? And so now that with the next steps, what we're focusing on are 2 components here. Excuse me, next slide. So now where we're going next is focusing on the residents right next to the warehouse, right? So those homes that were directly in the smoke next door, making sure that we're supporting them door to door, right? Making sure that we get them what they need and we're providing them help. So the first thing is if they need housing vouchers, we will be providing housing vouchers working with 211 LA. I started with an apology. I am sorry. That's where I started. But let me finish with what we're doing. So the next step we're taking is additional housing vouchers. The city and county have actually already been doing them, and we're going to step behind what they've already started and continue to support. In addition, going door to door and just listening. Do they need grocery vouchers? Do they need help with cash assistance? Do they still need an air purifier? With the smell, if they have their windows shut, it's hot out, do they need an air conditioner? Right? We'll get them an air conditioner. So going door to door, listen to what they need, and get them what they need the same day, right there. So we'll have a team being able to provide exactly what they need. Lastly here, we'll be providing utility bill support with an existing service with the LADWP and helping to understand again what those residents need. There was a question on communication. We've heard we're not communicating enough to the direct residents, and so you're going to see an improvement on that right away. So we have additional flyers that are coming out. We're focused on getting this not only to the residents door to door, but also taking it to local churches and making sure that this is on our website 3 times per week. Lastly, we're going to set up a community support line. So for those individuals that we're not talking to door, that we have a means for them to be able to call and understand their needs directly. This is not ready yet. We're targeting to get it launched the beginning of next week. Monday next week.
Thank you. Do we have anyone ready for their question? Not, I will start raising their questions here. A question from Esperanza. She's asking, what should the area be prepared for? What changes or help will get the neighborhood through this? Where is the support for small businesses? Not knowing what to do when something of this nature happens is a bad representation on her partly. Why weren't proper evacuations in order? That's one question. Michelle Rubio, I've called you up several times. Are you up here? The mayor gave Lineage 45 days to clean up. Why? Was the deadline given to Lineage so carefully placed with demo? Does Lineage transport millions of pounds of food per week? If not, are we expecting cleanup to take months? That's another question. Do we have anyone here ready for a question? To ask a question?
Hey, regarding the 45 days that the mayor's target put, in a situation like this, it would normally take 6 months. So the mayor put a very aggressive goal.
I've already brought them all up. We're going to bring additional people up who have...
Abigail, yes. Sorry, we have a question right here.
Okay, my main concern is that residents that are suffering from respiratory distress are being sent home and only given Tylenol. They're not giving chest x-rays. They're not giving oxygen. They have people that are full of lungs and their phlegm is full of it and they're not taking the phlegm out. So Barbara Ferreira, you have failed us. You did not create a medical response, an emergency medical response when we have people that are being turned away and sent home. People are suffering, and it is a disgrace that this county has done nothing to do with the hospitals that are not dealing with us. I've had to deal with people going to 2 or 3 hospitals just to get a fucking pump. That's bullshit. We need to deal with that, and Hilda, I know you're dealing with it, but right now the county failed with the emergency medical response. We demand that. Thank you.
I also am just going to start with an apology. The situation is unbearable for the residents that live in the immediate affected area.
Are you going to do it in Spanish?
And you're right to call out the places where the failures have been the most acute. So I'm here to listen and to try to do a better job starting tomorrow. I want to note that that's all we can do. Today, we're here because we want to do our very best to be able to understand where we failed. This is the first time I'm hearing, to be honest, that the medical system response was not good. I had heard that the clinics, and I want to thank the clinics who were here, were actually providing the kind of care that residents needed. So if that didn't happen, right, I hear you. I hear that it didn't happen, and we will go back and figure out what we need to do better so that that's no longer the problem. I do also want to say that we agree with you about the relocation benefit. That has to happen immediately. There are a lot of people here who have been asking to be relocated while this situation plays itself out. And I was anxious to hear what Lineage was offering. We issued a directive to Lineage on June 29th telling them to offer relocation. We knew from other experiences with other fires just a year and a half ago that people need to be put in places where they're going to be safe and where their health is actually going to be something that they can strive for. So I want to note that we asked Lineage on the 29th of June to offer those relocation benefits. So we're working hard to make sure that happens. I hear it didn't happen. I hear you. I hear you. But well, we're listening now about what you're saying. I didn't hear there were problems with masks. I'm going to tell you something. Okay.
Many people died by COVID, and thousands of people died. This is what they're doing. They're saying that the air is okay. It's not okay.
Abigail, we have one more over here.
Thank you.
2 minutes? Okay.
¿Nos va a decir de a poquito? ¿Hable usted?
I can't hear you.
Buenas noches a todos, mi nombre es Silvia.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sylvia.
Y yo estoy muy desilusionada.
Señora, ¿la podemos dejar hacer su pregunta, por favor?
Bien rápido. It's her turn, and then she's next. She's a cancer survivor. Her daughter died. She should speak. Give her the mic.
Señora, ahorita le podemos dar un minuto para hacer su pregunta. Okay. Vamos a seguir con una pregunta y ahorita vengo a darle el tiempo para hacer su pregunta.
Sí. La verdad es que ustedes, nuestros representantes, pónganse las pilas, por favor, porque han pasado tantas cosas aquí en la comunidad.
Por ejemplo, a usted, señora Solís, cuando hubo el incendio de la Rowan y del Teatro Unique, nunca limpiaron ese lugar. Hay 2 escuelas alrededor. Yo tengo una nietecita que falleció al año y medio. Mi hija trabajaba aquí por la Telegraph y la Olympic, y la niña murió de cáncer, y yo estoy perdiendo la fe en ustedes porque no puede ser. Por eso estamos todos aquí, porque ya no nos soportamos, hacemos los complaints y todo y no nos escuchan, y ya estamos cansados, por Dios. Queremos que por favor, saquen esas otras 7 compañías que hay de la misma compañía de nuestra comunidad. Gracias.
Since you're representatives, you should really put us first. There was a fire on the cinema in Rowan and Unique, and they have not been cleaned up. There was a little girl that died because of cancer because of the consequences of it. And that's why we really don't know if you really have our best interest in mind and put them first above everything else.
I want to go back to the woman that was asking her question, and then we're going to come back to the right of me and then to the left side, and we're going to get through the people standing on the right and the left to do our best to answer their questions.
Okay, well, my name is Barbara Martinez, and I'm a cancer survivor from X-Site, from the mess they had. Now we're here in Lineage. I want you guys to tell the public what chemicals were really out there. We're breathing all this. It didn't just go away like the Mayor Bass said, that the air was okay. It's not okay. It's not going to be okay for a long time. So all these people need to know exactly what they got to look out for, because my niece passed away from cancer. I ended up getting cancer. I got a lot of family members that are sick. So what are you guys going to do for all these people? What? You know, you guys promised this. You think that air purifier is going to take care of it? It's just like a little Band-Aid on a big wound. They need more than 2 or 3 air purifiers in the home. I want you guys to tell them, what solutions are you guys going to have? Exactly what are you guys going to do? And I'm telling Ysabel Jurado, we tried to work with you the last time. We tried to clean up the community, and you really didn't work with us. You know who we're talking about.
Thank you. Mi nombre es María López. Vivo a 4 casas de donde fue el incendio. El incendio empezó el día 17 a las 2:43 de la tarde. Y fue un pequeñez y se hizo demasiado grande. Lo que queremos es una respuesta, porque los niños entran a la escuela y no queremos todo ese apeste. Le invito a la señora Solís, a las 2, les invito a todos que vayan a dormir, a donde nosotros dormimos.
My name is Maria Lopez, and I'm part of the community. The fire started very close to where I live. It started as something minuscule, and it became something really big. So I want to know, for those of you who are here representing us, I would like for you to come, sleep where we sleep, so you can experience what we have to go through.
Y los purificadores no nomás es uno, tienen que ser 3 por casa, porque las casas tienen 3 recámaras. ¿Por qué no nos hacen caso? Los niños van a regresar a escuela. Me dolió que yo fuera al doctor y mi hija le saliera sangre de las narices. Y si ustedes no tienen hijos, hagan lo que quieran. ¿Ok? Porque duele que no nos hagan caso. Duele.
Purifiers are not enough. 1 purifier is not enough. We have up to 3 bedrooms at home. We need 3 purifiers, 1 in each. It was really hurtful for me that my daughter had to go to school and she was bleeding. And it's something that you don't have to go through.
So we're going to go to the left side of me for the next question. Are we ready for the next question?
Hi, hello. My name is Vanessa Ramirez, and I live in the community and serve the community. My question was what assistance is going to stay in the community for the community, because no one really here is helping the community other than the people that live in the community.
Thank you for your question. Does anyone want to answer that question? Okay, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna answer the next question. Yeah, I'm really sorry. I know there's a lot of questions here. We have provided responses. We know that the services that have been available are not enough. We know that. We hear you.
What services though? What services? 140 for groceries?
We're gonna go over answers at the end. We want to make sure that we allow for everyone to ask their question, and we will provide answers at the end after everyone does have an opportunity to ask their question.
Buenas tardes. Como nadie se dirige a los otros que hablamos español, yo quiero hablar por todos los que tenemos aquí en español. Cuando empezó el incendio, lo que nos dijeron, esténse en sus casas con el humo, enciérrense, mas nunca pensaron que esa podía explotar y ponernos en peligro a todos. Ahora nadie se ha acercado a nuestras casas a preguntarnos qué necesitamos, si estamos bien. Nadie se preocupa, nada más en la televisión dicen que dan cosas y cosas, pero a la comunidad no nos llega nada. Nadie se preocupa por nosotros, solamente están en la televisión para darse publicidad porque necesitan nuestro voto y nuestro apoyo. Pero realmente, ahora que los ocupamos a ellos, no están con nosotros, nos tienen abandonados. Fuéramos Beverly Hills, fuéramos otra ciudad, estaríamos protegidos y evacuados. Pero como somos latinos, nos han discriminado, porque nadie nos evacuó, nadie nos dio una ayuda. Podía pasar lo que pasó en Palizares y lo que pasó en Pasadena, un fuego a grandes dimensiones. ¿Y qué nos hicieron? Encerrarnos, a estar allí al peligro de que explotara y los incendiáramos todos sin poder salir de ahí. Nadie se ha preocupado por nosotros realmente como es. Y aquí están los concejales que quieren nuestro apoyo. Cuando necesitan, no están en la comunidad, pero ahora que lo necesitamos nosotros, nadie está ahí. Que nos dan aires, nada más dan un aire. Y los demás, ¿qué? A nadie nos da nada. Gracias.
Since nobody really here speaks Spanish, I want to speak for everyone who speaks Spanish. This is something that has happened to this community. It started as a small fire, and it turned out to be something huge. If this community had been impacted in a different way, like if it had been a different community like Beverly Hills or even the Palisades fire, they would have gotten a better and more prompt response. So I don't want to say this, but as Latinos, I think we've been discriminated against. I think this is something that is really putting us on the map in the sense that they are not being helpful. We've been discriminated against.
No, that they helped us shelter this place, and that they could have been blown up and they kept them.
Next question.
He failed to mention that the man said that you guys had a shelter in place. We're not going to be an explosion instead of evacuating.
Do we have another translator that can come up? Okay, we're going to keep going. Yes, go ahead, to my left.
My name is Hasmin. I am a constituent, and as my fellow constituents have said, there are a lot of health concerns for not just our community, but I've heard people all the way in El Monte who smelled the smoke, people near and far. So this is actually a statewide emergency. I want to know what you are doing to assess and both mitigate the health risks that are going to come about, not just right now. As you can hear, my throat is a little irritated, not just right now, but long term. What are we doing to assess and mitigate the health consequences of this fire? And then second of all, what are we doing in terms of accountability? Legislatively, politically, what are we doing to make sure that the next company that comes in is not at risk of having the same thing happen? Lineage, what are you doing to make sure that none of your other facilities are suffering the same consequences that we are? And countywide, statewide, what are we doing in terms of implementing those policy barriers and policy accountabilities for these large corporations that frankly don't give a fuck?
Can you provide a response to that question, please?
I can provide a response on what the Lineage buildings are doing. So on any building that has solar, we've gone through a a matrix evaluation. Many we've shut down, others we're evaluating. So, this has put us on high alert, and we're evaluating. We have around 100 buildings that have solar around the world. And, so it's something we're highly focused on.
Capri Maddox, Executive Director, LA Civil Rights Department, and I would just like to uplift the fact that Mayor Bass has done an executive order to make sure, after we get through some of the immediate issues right now, that we will move forward to be intentional to figure out where we have other problem locations before there is another incident. And as we know, many times these places are placed in communities of color and some of our most underserved and vulnerable communities. So I just want to let you know we are looking into that as we move forward. Thank you.
Of this fryer, yeah.
I'd like to address the accountability aspect. We as an agency have authority to issue public nuisance violations, but we need to have people call us and tell us that there's a complaint. You have to call us every day. That is what the public law, that is what the statute, Health and Safety Code says. So if we don't get those calls, we are not able to issue a notice of violation. So call 1-800-CUT-SMOG. If you call us, we will be there. 1-800-CUT-SMOG. Thank you.
Excuse me, I don't mean to differ from you, but I'm sorry. The fact that residents have to call you every day, that's not okay. I mean, I think that this is what's going on. Don't respond to me, please. We'll talk about it afterwards. But I do not like putting that burden on the community. I know that, yes. Let me say a few things. Let me respond to a few things. Several of the things that were raised, and let me just say that we're going to wrap this up shortly. And what we're going to do from here is, for people who have questions, and we have a number of questions, we are going to respond to those questions in writing, and we will put it on the website. But let me respond to several of them now. In terms of better communication, I could not agree with you more. I have been in the neighborhood multiple times. I'm going as soon as I leave here because the neighbors that live nearby have asked me to come at night because the smells are worse, and I will go there then. I do believe that the best communication is talking directly to the people in the neighborhood, and that means going door to door in any neighborhood that wants us to be there. We will be there. Relocation is available for people who live directly in the neighborhood, and I absolutely understand that relocation, in my opinion, needs to go on for at a minimum 45 days, which adheres to the commitment and the demand that we are making on Lineage that this area has to be cleaned up within 45 days. The people who have raised whether or not this is environmental discrimination, in my opinion, are in the inner city neighborhoods where I have grown up and spent my life, is the only place you find industrial right next to residential. I have called for a complete evaluation in this area, in South LA and in the San Fernando Valley, where these industrial places are located. We need to evaluate them for their potential for environmental problems, and we need to prepare for those facilities that might need to be closed. They will be evaluated, and the community will participate in that decision. I started with East LA, absolutely. The first evaluations will begin here. We're going to have a contest as to who can yell the loudest. Let me just say that we are providing assistance for the community in terms of cash, in terms of groceries, in terms of cash to small businesses. We will continue to do that, and we will continue to make those demands of Lineage. This accident happened because of the two companies that were located there. That's how the harm was created to this community. And I can tell you on behalf of the other elected officials that are here, we are going to fight like hell to make sure that this community is made whole, that healing takes place, that people who have lost their income or have had health impacts will be dealt with. That is what and by the way, we can't do any of this without you being involved, and everything we have done so far has included the community organizations who have guided all of the policies that we have introduced and the services that we have provided. I want to thank you very much for coming out today. I want to say for those people who were trying hard to listen, we will follow up with you and we will respond to your questions, all of them, in writing. We have time for a few more questions. We will take 5 more questions and then we are closing out. Thank you very much. 5 more questions.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Can I ask my question?
Yes, but give me 1 second, please. I know, again, we have a lot of residents here today who have questions, and we're trying to get them their answers. So if we can please be respectful of our neighbors who are here today, who came here to have their questions addressed. So I'm going to go to the right. We have 5 more questions that we will take this evening. Please ask your question.
Hi, I wanted to ask City Council, Mayor, and then our Supervisor why they haven't contacted the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council. We are part of the community. Nobody's emailed us. Nobody showed up to our last meeting to give us any information, provided any information to us as a neighborhood council, as well as why is nobody else, why haven't I received information? I'm signed up. I haven't received any communication, any part at all. I had people coming to my meeting asking me questions that I didn't have information for. A lot of people in my board are people who are active in the community trying to get help. They're not getting any responses for anybody. The police station has to come and give us an update. The mayor's office has to give us an update. City council has to give us an update. They don't show up and give us any updates at all. Where are my responses? Where are my help? Where's everything? Because I'm not getting any of this information that supposedly everybody's giving us. Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council is different from the city council. Why haven't you communicated with me? When? I already had a couple of meetings. Oh, forget it. For everybody who doesn't understand, I speak Spanish too. ¿Por qué no han venido a las juntas del consejo del vecindad que nosotros tenemos? Nosotros somos elegidos por la comunidad y podemos estar a ayudarlos todos. Nosotros no tenemos nada de esta información que ellos supuestamente lo has dado. Supuestamente están ayudando a la comunidad que está en esta comunidad. No se han comunicado con nosotros.
Thank you for your question. Yes, neighborhood council representatives are ambassadors in our community, and we should be activated in our neighborhood councils for emergency communication. Thank you for your question. I'm going to go to the left side of me now for the next question.
Hi, we've also been having community, can everybody hear me? We've also been having community meetings as well, and one of the things that we learned is that because, and please correct me if I'm not right or wrong, but because there was not an evacuation notice, if you have insurance, you will not be allowed to use any additional living expenses to move out. And so because of that, I really feel that Lineage should be responsible for additional housing long-term. Yes. I also worked for FEMA in 1994. I worked major disasters. I know exactly how this works. This is going to be a long-term disaster. So I am really asking for many of us to please listen and communicate and work with all the agencies, because as long as we continue to shout and scream, we're not going to get anything done correctly. Please, please, we have to work together. We have to stay together, and we have to unite, because if we don't, this is going to happen again and again and again. And one of the things that we learned is that we have to be prepared for a disaster, and this starts with your local, state, and federal.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for being here. We have time for 3 more questions. To the right of me, please.
Buenas tardes. Bueno, yo voy a hablar como un miembro más de la comunidad. Cuando yo vengo a una reunión de estas, yo vengo por respuestas. No vengo para que cada uno de ustedes me diga sus bondades. Yo pienso, y eso es lo que esperamos nosotros. Nosotros tuvimos que exigir básicamente que nos dejaran hablar, porque de ustedes solamente como si fuera un bingo lo que hubiera por ahí. Pero bueno, el punto aquí mío es, primero, yo pienso que eso fue en parte negligencia, porque no se brindó la atención necesaria a la hora del incendio. Fue el 17 de junio, ¿a qué fecha estamos? ¿Por qué? Porque minimizaron nuestra comunidad, porque nuestra comunidad siempre ha sido marginada y nosotros siempre nos quedamos callados. Esto no hubiera pasado si hubiera sido en otra área. Entonces, ahora estamos aquí con toda la gente que supuestamente nosotros elegimos. No nos pueden decir que el aire no está contaminado, porque cuando una casa se incendia, tira monóxido de carbono, y no soy científica, no soy médico ni nada para saber que es tóxico y es malo para los pulmones. En segundo lugar, las epidemias que eso genera son inmensas. No se trata de cerrar una puerta, de cerrar. Nosotros tenemos que vivir, tenemos que trabajar para mantener una casa, y ahí no se soluciona. Nosotros veníamos por respuestas, no veníamos por reconocer cada una de las cosas que hubieran hecho. Ahora, no sabía que había una señorita miembro de la comunidad, sí, y se dirigió específicamente a ciertos miembros y le dicen, yo iba a hacerlo, pero ya vamos ¿cuánto tiempo? 17 de junio, estamos más de casi a mitad de mes del otro mes. O sea, nuestra comunidad siempre se queda callada. Entonces, gracias.
Gracias por su comentario. Vamos a seguir. Tenemos 2 más preguntas. 2 more questions.
Good evening. As a public school teacher, I always tell my students, actions speak louder than words, and you guys are no different. Okay, I am a product of this community, and I am proud to say that, and I am very disgusted with how this response has played out in real time. I feel that leadership in all levels, from lineage to city to state, even federal, has failed us. Where the hell is Governor Newsom? He has not shown up to the site. I guess because he's already phased out, he could care less. But I do want to remind people here that elections are coming up in a few months. Your political voices will determine the aftermath of this. Also, define long-term. If typically a situation would take up to 60 days, I know Mayor Bass gave them 45 days. Will Lineage, will the city cover those that are in the immediate vicinity housing? I'm on Indiana and Union Pacific, 3 houses down from the warehouse. Thank God this did not become a repeat of the Palisades and Eaton, but I wonder if it did, would the response be the same? Would have been the same. Okay? Furthermore, I do want to thank the firefighters, because it is a thankless job, and I do commend you guys for it. Because you guys leave it all on the line to help us, so thank you. Thank you, and God bless you guys.
We're going to go to the right side of me for the final question.
Hello. Hi, I'm Quali. Hello, excuse me. I'm Quali Linda, and I have a few things to say. So, I think we all can agree this was a failure on behalf of the city officials, not just the Lineage company, like the finger pointing insists. Point the finger back at yourselves, LA Mayor Bass, Hilda Solis, and the city officials. Also the LA fire chief, because he and Mayor Bass made dangerous statements to the community. They said there is no need to evacuate. Okay, and Mayor Bass made a very dangerous statement that endangered my own life, along with thousands of people saying that the air was not dangerous, and we all heard that and seen that. And I got very sick because that day she declared that the air was not dangerous. I came to Boyle Heights, and I did a photo shoot. And I went home and got even worse my condition. I was already sick. I live in East LA, not in Boyle Heights, and I was already sick, and then I came here and I got even more sick because of Mayor Bass. So what are you going to do to help the Boyle Heights residents and prioritize them? But after that, what are you going to do for all the people that you put in danger, like me, who are not Boyle Heights residents? How are you going to help us and be accountable for that? We need accountability from Mayor Bass and all these city officials, not just Lineage Corporation. And we also demand, the people demanded already, that we want Lineage out of East LA and Boyle Heights. Okay.
I want to answer.
I'm not finished. Wait, okay. I don't have that much time. Also, why did you wear a gas mask if you said the air was not dangerous? Independent reporter recorded you, Mayor Bass. Also, why are you gaslighting us with saying all of a sudden you don't know how to communicate with the public when you do? Okay, and also, we want an investigation, we want accountability into Mayor Bass and all the city officials. And we demand that, this is a state of emergency, we demand cleanup from the National Guard immediately, not in 45 days.
Yes! I want to briefly respond to your question. It was shared earlier that Airbnb is offering short-term housing vouchers to 400 households that are closest to the Lineage warehouse. We do have representatives from 211 outside this hallway ready to assist and identify those households if you are here today. Again, this was already announced. There is information in the hallway if you would like additional information. We have exhausted the question and answer period. I know there's one person, if our community is okay with that, we can defer to our one last final question or comment for the evening. Are we okay with that? Yes, okay.
I'm going to show it to you like
But if we can have everyone else please take their seats, and we will allow our neighbor to ask his last question.
I want to say that it's a shame that our elected officials, our city, state, and county agencies have compromised their integrity with our communities. It's a shame, and we're going to be judging you from here forward as to what you do. We need to have a state of emergency. We need all of our elected officials to declare a state of emergency all the way up to the governor, bring in the National Guard, and knock that mess down in 2 days, not 45. 45 is an absolute insult to the community. I'm a cancer survivor from the last time we had a town hall meeting that was ineffective, and we just got lied to by our state officials, our agencies, and elected officials. On my block, let me tell you, on our block, this is after people telling us that there's no danger, the air was clean and all that. All you got to do is Google what happens when you burn solar panels. On my block, there's only 19 homes that we know of. There are over 13 people who either have or have died of cancer. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. We're asking for some sort of help to get this community back to health. Just because you can walk down the street and don't see a dead body or your arm hasn't fallen off does not mean that our health is okay and we're not in danger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That does conclude today's town hall. I do want to remind you that we do have a website that has been established that has information and resources on the website. We hear you. We know that we need to do more than provide you with air purifiers and more resources need to be made available. That's not enough. So please visit the website for additional information and resources. Thank you.